I had a good time. I just have so many questions. That's it. That's my intro. Hi, I'm Amanda. You're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about Wattcon, the Watties, and by extension, Wattpad. Usually, how I approach events is I find out about one, and then I find out how to get tickets, and then I find out how to get my ass there. That's really it. Sometimes I do no research before going to an event, and I find that that is the most accurate way for me to get an authentic attendee experience for you, my viewers. Also, there are events that I've heard about but I've never been to that I knew a little bit about, like say Playlist Live. Obviously, when we were Young Fest, everyone was speculating about that. There was a lot of things going on about that. So certain things slip through the cracks. Wattcon, nothing. I had heard about it in years past, and I heard nothing about it after I bought my ticket. Nothing really at all. I've never known anyone who had attended Wattcon. I had never seen photos from Wattcon. I registered on July 27th, and it was only $39 for my ticket. It was like super cheap. And so I was like, oh, great. It's $39. It's at a hotel here in Los Angeles. I don't have to get a hotel room. I can just drive morning of. This is perfect. This is great. And then I didn't think much of it until it showed up on my calendar. Now, let's talk about Wattcon in relation to Wattpad. Wattpad is how would you even describe Wattpad? God. Wattpad, where stories live. Wattpad is an online literature platform intended for users to read and write original stories. Now, when I talk about Wattpad, or when I've brought up Wattpad in the past, you may automatically go fan fiction, because that's where my brain automatically goes. I was reading on Wattpad starting around 13, 14, and it was predominantly known to me as a fan fiction platform. I did read a couple of original stories on there. And last time I checked, a lot of them are like abandoned or were taken off the platform for one reason or another. But predominantly what I read on there was fan fiction. And a lot of people still know it as a fan fiction platform, but it's not predominantly a fan fiction platform. It is meant to be for original stories. And they've definitely leaned more into incentivizing original stories, in my opinion. And that's part of the problem for this video. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's what Wattcon is. It's Wattpad's convention, okay? Or even I would go farther to say that this is more of a conference, fully expecting it to be a predominantly fan event. I don't know why. I just assumed it was. Wattcon, Wattpad does not exist without readers the same way that YouTube does not exist without viewers, okay? Remember that. It comes back to that. I was like, okay, as a reader, even though I've never written anything on Wattpad, I have written fan fiction and I have written original stories, but none of it was on Wattpad. I've only ever been a reader on Wattpad. And so I was like, okay, I won't be alone as a reader. I'm sure I won't be the only one attending alone. Here's my badge. My screen name is on this. It's something so stupid. I made it something stupid. I changed it so that you guys could never find it when my YouTube was blowing up. But then I forgot that it was something stupid, and I didn't think that, they may want to put it on a badge. And so it's something stupid that's on here. It's not inappropriate. It's just stupid. And then I put she, her, and romance, because that's really what I've been reading lately. I'm alone, okay? But this is my badge. I had to wear this the entire time. And I was like, the reception, because it said, if you're registered for the reception, if you're registered, you're already RSVP'd. And I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea if I'd RSVP'd for the reception. I didn't know if that was something else I had to do. And so apparently, no, if you were registered, you were RSVP'd for the reception. And I was like, okay, I'll go check it out. I'll see what it is. Maybe I'll leave. We'll see if they even let me in. Who knows? I didn't know what the deal was, okay? Didn't know what the vibes were. I go, and it was at the Lowe's Hotel here in, I feel like I'm saying that wrong because it's spelled odd. The Lowe's Hotel in Hollywood is where it was at. I go in, I register, and it's like a clump of people. Everyone's in groups, and everyone clearly knows each other, which is fine. And I want to make that abundantly clear. Once again, we are speaking of this in relation to my social anxiety and my anxiety disorder, okay? We are speaking about it this way. I am not someone who's gonna break into a conversation. It's not even like when I was at the Creator Clash party, because I knew people there and I still couldn't do it. I knew no one here, but they knew each other. That makes it worse. I'm not gonna break into that conversation. But I realized very quickly, as I started getting to talk to people, whether they came up to talk to me because I was alone, I was recognized by two different people I was there. I realized very quickly that everyone there was a writer on Wattpad. I think the entire time, throughout the entire convention, I think I met two readers, and they were readers who were desperately trying to become writers, which is fine. That's not a problem. I just thought that was interesting. Me being there, I was the odd man out. I was an interloper because I was not a writer on Wattpad. Not that anyone made me feel excluded. Not that anyone felt weird speaking to me or anything like that. As you guys know, unless there is a safety issue, I'm very clear about why I'm at an event. If someone asks me, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm a YouTuber. I'm reviewing Wattcon. I just do that. But everyone kept trying to read my screen name because everyone assumed that because I was there, I was somebody. And I'm not talking about the reception. This kept happening the entire event, both Friday and Saturday. Everyone that was there knew each other to some degree because they were all writers in some capacity on Wattpad. And a lot of them were well-known writers. Some of them have been traditionally published. Some of them were on the track to being traditionally published. Some of them are in the monetization creators program, things like that. So they all just assumed, and not even just them, the people, the Wattpad employees that were running the event assumed that they would know me. They kept being like, oh, I'm sure I know you. Like, let me see your screen name. And I'm like, no, I'm nobody. Here, I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just here to review the event. And one of them was like, oh, did we invite you? And I was like, no, you guys sold tickets for $39. This happens sometimes. She was like, oh, well, I'll be sure to check out your video. And I'm like, that's okay. That's fine. I don't have a problem with you guys watching my stuff when I talk about events that you're running and things like that. I mean, if anything, I hope that you guys get any advice or things that I share. I hope you guys take that in a constructive way. But I mean, I never know. I could be blocked. Who knows? Maybe I'll be booted off of Wattpad. Who knows? That's always a risk I run with the videos that I make. But I mean, I don't say anything that I wouldn't say to someone's face. And that goes with a company and an event as well. So welcome. Hope you're enjoying the video so far. The overall vibe of the event was, you're already writing on Wattpad. Here's why you should keep writing on Wattpad. Here's what you can get to. If that sounds a little MLM-y, that is okay. Because that was the vibe I was getting. I know that's I know that doesn't, I just said something incredibly offensive to a platform. So next morning I get there right at opening. Again, the same things. People are trying to see like, oh, what's your screen name? Who are you? She's trying to read my screen name. And she was like, well, if that was true, you wouldn't be here. And I was like, I'm here because the tickets were $39. Like it's that simple. Like I was able to buy a ticket. And so I'm here. The tickets were available for open sale. Like it was that easy. I had a Wattpad account. That was it. I asked one of the authors that I was speaking to. Again, everyone was very nice. Very nice. I was like, yeah, I'm surprised there's not more readers here. I really was expecting more readers, but I really didn't know what I was getting into. She was like, well, our readers are not the type of readers that are going to travel to come and meet their favorite author. But writers who haven't, gotten the chance to, have an experience like this are going to travel for something like this. But our readers are not, they want, like stickers, book plates and things like that. That's what they want. They don't want to travel to meet us. And I was like, okay. Interesting, because my brain immediately went to TikTokers. Hearing that, I immediately started thinking about the TikTokers at VidCon who have all of these followers and all of these fans, and their meet and greet lines were empty. My first question is that maybe it's overinflated, maybe reads are not a good metric to measure popularity on the platform. Because at the end of the day, Wattpad is a platform. It's a social media platform in a regards. It's a fiction, fan fiction, original fiction, whatever you want to call it. It is a writing platform that is the same as any other social media platform. YouTube is a social media platform. I can make any videos that I want. Every YouTuber can make any videos that they want. However, none of us have careers. None of us have views. None of us have jobs. None of us have anything unless the platform also has viewers to watch said videos, okay? However, the platform does not have viewers without people like me, like other YouTubers who make content. Whether you are a user who posted one video of your grandma slipping on Christmas Eve somewhere and you thought it was funny, so you post it and it's gotten a few 100,000 views or whatever, or your job is making content, or you're trying to have a hobby that you want to make your job one day. It's a symbiotic relationship. You have the viewers and you have the creators. That's just how this works. These platforms cannot make money. They cannot exist without both existing. That being said, it is predatory is not the word. The same goes for Wattpad. Wattpad does not exist without readers. Readers do not exist if they don't have a steady stream of writers writing books, whether for free or behind their new paywall. They don't exist either way. But the writers aren't incentivized to write without readers, Same thing. It's like Wattpad needs writers and YouTube needs YouTubers, because without them, you don't have the readers or the viewers. I have no idea if I'm explaining this well. I need a whiteboard. It's a business model that is inherently, what is the goddamn word? Taking advantage. Exploitative. Let's use that. Forget predatory. Exploitative. There it is. That took me too long. The setup is, at the end of the day, exploitative to some degree. Now, how do you make it less exploitative? Money. So that these people who are making content for your platform are incentivized to keep making content for the platform, so that you hope they keep making an insane amount of content for the platform so that you can keep making an insane amount of money, whether it's from advertisers or premium accounts or just views in general, data sales even. That can be something that these platforms make money off of. There's laws around it and it can be illegal, but it's one of the ways they do it. But in order to do that, again, they have to there has to be incentive, okay, to keep making content. This whole event ended up kind of being like Vid Summit for Wattpad, okay? If you want to hear more about Vid Summit, my video is linked down below. But it's like an insiders event, or people who want to be insiders go to this event. Seems like, okay? There was a reason that these people were there, whether it was because they wanted to meet writers, they wanted to be a writer, they were a writer, but they wanted to figure out how to get a book deal / get a movie deal, traditionally published and all this stuff. That's why they were there. And so why then was money not talked about at all? Now, I did not go to every single talk, but I went to majority of the panels. I didn't even realize until like halfway through the day, like after lunch. I didn't realize until after lunch. I was like, no one's even talked about finances. No one's mentioned money. And you may say no one cares about that. No one wants to talk about that. These are creatives. They don't want to care about money. No, life is expensive. We are going into a recession and we just had a panoramic. Money is something that is a factor of life. When I'm giving my art, the book, I have another comment about this because I kept hearing books or stories referred to as content, and that hurt my soul, frankly. My stories are making you money. So what is the benefit for me having my story be on your platform, And the first talk that I went to, the first talk of the day, was called Writerpreneurs. Entrepreneurs. Their whole job is writing. And the fact that you have a whole thing about entrepreneurs, that's what they are, and not a single one of them talked about finances was super odd to me. I believe one of them said that they have a real full-time job as well at the same time. But most of them talked about it like their job now is writing. They all had book deals. They were all on deadlines to some degree. One of them has an insane output. They were talking a lot about output and like being on deadline and consistency and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, but output, consistency, all of that is great, but so much of that is incentivized by not just keeping readers happy, but like being able to feed yourself, and I don't think that's like poor taste to talk about. And I don't need numbers, but I would like percentages. I would like to know, it's like, yeah, here's why I don't post my books on Amazon anymore. Because one of them was talking about like, oh, I like seeing how many sales I got, like for like the number of books that were sold and all of that, and trying to figure that out. And like, oh, how many books is that? And like as it pertains to number of books, but not money. So this book is free. This book is paid and all of that. They have a paid version of books now where you basically buy coins to unlock chapters or the full book on Wattpad for certain stories. Now, as a writer, I cannot post my story and then have it automatically be accepted in that program. I got a card. Wattpad Creators Program, like the Creators Fund or partner program. You have to be in this, is my understanding. Use the coin system basically and potentially make money from your thing. There's no percentages though. How much of coins do I get? That shouldn't be hard for me to find. RPM, CPM, and it can change. Like my guess is that it's different for every genre. My guess it's different for every author because they have different qualifications for genre based on genre. And the same goes with YouTube. Like this video is going to make less money than someone with a finance channel. They make bank. They make a stupid amount of money on YouTube. I make less money than them. And that's okay because we're making different types of content. Same goes with books. But I would like some transparency so that I'm not guessing. To be in the partner program here on YouTube, you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. And technically, no content complaints and things like that. But let's guess you don't have those. Let's guess you're talking about video games or fluffy rainbows, okay? Your channel is then checked to see if you're a real person or a business, and then you are given the opportunity to start making money and monetizing your videos. Here's the Wattpad's Creator Program, designed to allow our most engaged writers to take advantage of perks, special opportunities, and hands-on support. Our goal is to help you build a writing career through Wattpad. There's 4 criteria. You've created and published a new story part in the last 3 months, so that's a chapter. Fair. You have at least one 50,000 word story in your catalog. You do not have any trust and safety violations pending on you or your stories. Fair. And you have at least one story in your catalog written in one of the genres stipulated here that has achieved a minimum number of engaged readers. And so different genres have different number of engaged readers. So general fiction, 9,000 engaged readers. Romance, 7,500. Werewolf. I love that that's a completely set. Vampire. Okay. What is this? Werewolf, 5,500. Vampire, only 1,000 engaged readers. What is this? Is this vampire privilege? What is this? That's so weird to me. Chick lit, 1,000. Teen fiction, 4,000. Mystery thriller, 2,000. Horror, 100. Why is horror, science fiction, and paranormal only need 100? See, this is so all over the place to me, but I'm guessing that's based off of the average. See, that tells me that there might be a different number of payouts for the different genres. Afterwards, I found this article from Variety because I was trying to understand the money situation. I was trying to find the book breakdown. I was trying to just understand what was the incentive, the best case scenario even, for publishing a book on Wattpad. Because this kind of all... the overall vibe of like who is speaking and things like that. And some of the panels were just strictly like, here is informative, things like that. But it was kind of like, again, I bring up the MLM, like keep doing what you're doing, keep writing how you're writing so that you can get to this point where all these people are, the upper echelon of our platform. And you'll get a book deal and a movie deal and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, but what is the book deal? Is it worth your while? And you could argue that most of publishing is not worthwhile these days. But then again, I'm wondering what is the benefit of, not going the traditional route and going through Wattpad versus self-publishing, where you get to keep all the money and all the ownership. I need to know that it's worth the risk and the cost, because there is a cost. It's your work, like you're giving your baby to someone else. I found this article. Wattpad plans to pay top writers $2.6 million this year, and this was published in June. Wattpad, the user-contributed fiction platform, will pay writers cash stipends of up to $25,000 if they meet certain criteria in return for making their stories exclusive to the platform. Now, pretty much all of the writers that they mentioned in this article that I believe are given this stipend are the writers whose books are being made into movies. So the company Wattpad Creators Program plans to pay out a total of $2.6 million to writers in 2022. To be eligible, writers must have published all the criteria I already told you. More than 500 writers will be eligible for the cash stipends, the first time Wattpad is paying creators in this way. In addition, participants will be eligible for marketing and editorial support and sponsored brand partnerships. Listen, it feels like an MCN. It's giving a little bit of multi-channel network like here on YouTube. Now, I'm very against multi-channel networks. Completely against them. I think they're useless unless you are actively demonetized and you are a massive creator. 500 writers eligible for cash stipends. So how many of them are actually going to be getting these cash stipends? $25,000 is a lot of money. But when your whole job is writing and you're not making money other ways, that's not enough to live on, just to be exclusive. And then you're eligible for brand partnerships. For the record, MCNs will tell you that they can bring you brand partnerships. They also try to say that like, oh, we have a higher ad revenue rate. Like we can turn on like boosted ad revenue for you so you can make more money. Most of them don't turn it on, which is super shitty. And so that's just, again, there's a lot of language here that I'm just like, this is reminiscent of things. They're signing with that contract, then my guess is that they have to then write on the platform exclusively, not just those stories are exclusive, my guess is. However, it's not the first time the company is paying its best performing contributors. In 2019, Wattpad launched its paid stories program, letting writers charge a per chapter or per story fee for reader access. The program has grown to support hundreds of writers around the world, paying out more than $3 million in the first 3 years. When I hear it like that, it sounds like a lot, but then I need to know exactly how many writers and I need to know how many stories that is. I need to know the output of money to the output of writing. We're in the business of helping writers build a global audience and make money. Then why aren't we talking about money at your event? That's my question. This seemed to be more of an insider's event that you just also happen to sell tickets for. We can talk about the ticket process in a second, but I'm just wondering why we didn't talk about money. And my only guess of why you didn't talk about money was that you thought it was poor taste or the numbers are lower than they should be. So you didn't think that that would be incentive and that all the writers that you were trying to convince to continue to write on your platform, you don't think that them hearing that money is good enough incentive when they realize that, oh, I could go publish my same stories that I'm writing over on Amazon and promote them all myself without the Wattpad name and make the money myself. That's entirely, and I maintain ownership of everything and all of that. The other thing that I thought doesn't bode well for my opinion of Wattpad now, honestly, after this, was your Intro to Infinite Stories workshop. Because I thought that it was Intro to Infinite Stories, like here's how to generate new story ideas all the time. So that's what I thought I was going into. No, it was Intro to Infinite Stories because Wattpad also has Yonder, stories you can escape into. The future of fiction is here, a next generation reading app that delivers endless entertainment, daily content drops, best-selling writers, handpicked stories curated for your exact taste. It's all here. Go Yonder. So it's kind of like the reading version, not of Wattpad, but the reading version of Webtoons is the only way I can kind of describe this to you. And so basically, this whole Intro to Infinite Stories talk was because what they want for Yonders is never-ending stories that are dropped in chapters or episodes, about 1,500 to 2,000 words a week for at least 30 chapters, basically. And they were trying to prime us into, here's what classifies as an infinite story, or what could become infinite because it's a non-linear, definitive and non-definitive stories. So definitive stories are ones that have a very clear ending point. Non-definitive is there's not a definitive ending, and that can be one character keeps going, or you build out the world so much that you can feasibly keep making stories within the same universe. It's a non-definitive story. Apparently a lot of animes fall into this. Little workshops and little exercises to talk about how we can keep doing infinite stories. And there was a lot of valid questions people were bringing up. Like, most writers don't think of in a never-ending story. They have a beginning, a middle, and end. 3-act, 8-scene structure, whatever it is. Most writers think like that. Those questions were just kind of met like, yes, but this is like this. This is what we're looking for. Same goes with the Wattpad thing in general. They were talking about the output for Wattpad Webtoon Studios and all of that. And we're talking about here's what we're looking for consistency and all of that. And they were like, do we need to start writing our next book the moment we finish the first one? They were like, we would you don't have to just immediately start doing another story, but I mean one story a year and things like that. There's a lot of authors that don't put out one story a year, it's crazy the output that is requested or essentially required to be successful on the platform. And the same thing, a lot of people I hear the same thing talk about for people who have issues with Twitch as a live streaming platform, where the best way to grow on Twitch is to sell your soul to Twitch, no offense, and basically live your entire life on Twitch to get some viewers, because that's the only way that you are going to be able to grow and make money and get to these top streamer levels and things like that, is if you sacrifice all of your time to Twitch, basically. Burnout got brought up a couple of times, and I'm like, yeah, but it sounds like your business model in general kind of requires burnout of your writers in a sense. It almost seems like a prerequisite in a weird way because of just the insane amount of output that is required. The not talking about the money thing is super weird to me because it gives me two answers. You thought it was bad taste to talk about it in general, so you just decided, hey, let's just keep it light and airy. Let's keep it very dreamy. Let's here's where you can get to career-wise. Forget the money part. Let's keep it, upbeat and positive. Or the money's not as good as you would like people to believe, and you thought that would be discouraging for the people who are trying to get to this level. It's not exactly something to strive to if the money is nothing. Or 3, I would not be surprised if maybe they had implied to the authors, the way that it had been implied on YouTube years ago, that if you talk about the money side of things, you will lose the money side of things. There used to be a belief on YouTube that if you talked about how much money you made from YouTube, they would turn off your monetization. They would take your ability to monetize your content away from you because they didn't want people knowing how much YouTubers made and things like that. And whether that was a legitimate belief or a myth or whatever, it doesn't matter. That was the culture of YouTube for years. And I would not be surprised if that was happening over at Wattpad and they thought that they would maybe lose their ability to make money if they talked about the money side of things. It's your stories. I think you should be able to talk about if you can feed yourself this week, or if you're worried about paying your rent. I think you should be allowed to talk about that. The Waddies.
Next mission, change in my dress while in my car.
POV, you're in the backseat of Swell Entertainment's car. Swell Entertainment with a side of public indecency. Let's see. Oh, God. I think we're good, mostly. I don't know how I feel about the tights, honestly, but it's chilly out, so it's fine.
The Waddies were that night. Here's me ripping into the platform. But like I said, the event was very nice. They gave us lunch. They gave us a very nice lunch, which bodes into my other thing that I had questions about. Because there's no way they made money on this event. Not even a slim possibility. So $39 was the early bird price. Then it was $59. And then to watch the live stream and get the live stream access, it was $5. Now, those prices may seem like a lot to some people, but when you factor in travel and everything else, that's a very low event. TanaCon cost more than both of those. When there's the argument to be made that this could have been considered a conference, that is extremely low. My dad said, oh, that's a placeholder fee. Because if you have a free event and you have 300 people register, you may have 100 people show up or even less, because it's easy to say, yeah, I'll go, maybe I'll go, and then easy to decide that you didn't go or forget or whatever. But if you charge money, whether it's $39, $59, or $5 for a link, you almost guarantee that someone's going to go because, oh, I spent $5 on it, so I might as well watch the live stream. Factor in the hotel cost for the rental space, the branding for the marketing and all of that. The food. Food is a huge cost of an event. It is. It just is. You don't realize how much money it takes to feed people until you actually try to do it for an event like this, especially buffet style. It adds up. And they had tofu. They had 4 different types of salads at least. They had chicken, steak, salmon. That could be like $80 to $100 a person. And you think that that's less money or whatever, but it's like feeding a wedding party. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of food. And then all of the employees that have to work that event as well from the hotel, that's another cost on top of it, especially with how small the crowd was. I don't think you made that in ticket sales. And I think that it's probably did not make it in $5 fees for the live streams. There's no way they made money. That's my opinion. There's no way they made money. And so I think that this was just kind of again, getting people together, celebrating the Watties. The Wattie is part of their thing. I didn't even realize when I bought my ticket that I got to attend the Watties. That was kind of cool to see it from that view and see the live stream and all of that. It's very fun, but there's just no way they made money. So I'm trying to understand why. I guess you're, again, selling something. You're selling like, oh yeah, look what you get to do if you become a top writer on Wattpad. You could argue it's that. If you become published, look, you also get to be a presenter, because everyone who's published or had been published or had previously won a Wattie, which a lot of the winners of Watties had become then published and then become a movie deal and all this stuff. Then got to be speakers and announce the winners of the different categories, which there was a lot of books that won, which was very cool. Everyone was very excited, cheering for everybody. Then after the Watties was the after party, talked with some people. They gave us more food. They had sodas and things like that. Again, this was a dry event, and that was it. And I left and I had questions, and I don't think it's wrong to have questions. I think as someone who is writing and is kind of trying to find a home for her writing and isn't really sure what to do with it other than the nonfiction stuff I put on Medium, which I have not written anything this month. I don't think. That's really bad. I need to write something on Medium. But other than that, like my fiction, I would love to know where to find a home for that. And, I definitely looked at Wattpad for my potential home, as well as a home for other projects that I have planned out for that I can't necessarily monetize, that I have ideas for, that I think would be cool to work on with you guys. I think it's okay to question the platforms. I question YouTube all the time, and I'm on this platform. They pay me and I give them shit all the time. The problem as well with Wattpad and being in this event is it was a lot of varying ages for the people that I was meeting, but a lot of these writers are young. A lot of them started writing when they were like 15, and writing these books. And now this is like they're kind of the same thing I get anxious with these YouTubers and these TikTokers who get famous out of nowhere. Because I've had someone I was on the phone with when my channel was blowing up, and I took every call that I could get because I was trying to figure out what the deal was with everyone because I was nosy and I wanted to know as much as I could. I had someone who was blatantly surprised that I was well-spoken and had questions that were like pertinent questions to my job and their contracts and all this stuff, because they straight up told me that they have offered people money and that's all it took for them to agree to sign a contract. All they had to do was say, here's this amount of money. And it was very little money. And they just get excited because no one's ever tried to pay them for their hobby before. And I was like, wow, you just guaranteed you're not getting any of my shit ever. That's where I approach this from. Not that every single company is predatory and is banking on you not knowing what you're doing or not knowing what to ask, but a lot of them do, especially in creative endeavors. Look at everything happening with Warner Brothers. Look at everything happening with these streaming platforms and everything. These businesses that are running these streaming platforms, it's becoming very apparent, I hope, to all of you and the rest of the world, that they don't care about the art form. They don't care about the people actually creating the things that are making them money. They just want to know how to fuck everyone else over so they can get the most money possible. Not to say that that's exactly what Wattpad is doing, but I don't think it's wrong to be hesitant before you sign on a dotted line and then they own your work, okay? That's my point. One of the girls I was talking to was like, yeah, but I don't write for the money. I do it for the love of writing. And I'm like, that's great. Why not then keep it in your computer or on another platform where you then own everything, because that's also not clear here, is how much ownership is on you, because that's fine and good. If you're writing for the love of writing, that's great. But like, why post it on a platform that is then able to profit off of your writing on their platform? Because they're making money whether you're writing for you or you're writing for a check. And that is where my big sister vibes come out. And I get a little like, what's the deal here? At the end of the day, Wattpad is a social media platform. And social media platforms are inherently exploitative because they need you, the creator, whether you're an author, a video maker, a dancer, whatever, they need your content to give to their other user base, their readers, their viewers, so they can continue to make money. And I just want to make sure that you're getting the most value for yourself out of that. So you avoid burnout, so you avoid starvation, so you avoid losing your apartment, your home, so that you can continue to create and be happy. Would I go again? Would I recommend this? I think if you have a goal of writing on Wattpad, or you're already a writer on Wattpad, this might be fun for you. And that's going to be it today. Have you ever been to Wattcon? Have you ever heard of Wattcon? Are you on Wattpad? Do you write on Wattpad? Do you think I'm full of shit and you have answers to my questions? Let me know. Comment down below. Or if you actually have answers to my questions, shoot me an email. Like, just tell me everything. You don't have to tell me numbers. Just like, here's the percentage of what I make. I would love that, honestly. I'll tell you what I make. I don't care. Here's my tax return. Reminder, I have podcast, the Swell Shenanigans podcast. Reminder, I have merch like that mug back there. Shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. Also support my Patreon, listen down below. Like to my no social media. That'll be up here. And that's going to be it. Have a lovely day. Goodbye. Not everyone's goal is to make money from their work, and that's okay. But if your goal is to be published, I just hope that you don't think that Wattpad is your only avenue for being published. Thank you, Alan, Cameron, Christopher, Chris P, Crash PC, China, Dirty One Don, Elliot, Evan, Eric, Eal, Hopeless, Incognito, Jackery, James, Joe, John, Jordan, Kenny, Kim, Kristen, Lamb, Lex, Lisa, Luis, Matt, O, Matthew S, Meme Lord, Michael J, Micah, Nathan, Nathaniel, Pat, Penn, Richard, Rob, Red, Robert, Ross, Sam, Serena, Ciara, Skylar, Simon, Tasha, Timothy, Havenly, Plastic, Tom, Cordy, Randy, Wendy, Williams, Zendries, Wayne.